here we are with a bit of an interesting video, um, doing some live commentary. But anyways, this might seem like a little bit of a rant, right? But for me personally, it's always been one of my biggest problems about this game, and I don't know how. I don't know if other people feel this way. So, if you do feel this way, let me know. If you don't feel this way, also let me know. I'm very curious about how people feel about this because it's a bit of an interesting situation. I can't lie. So let me just let me just talk about it. Okay. Um, my biggest issue with this game is how really terrible the DLC has been handled. Now, here's what I mean by this, okay? I'm not even talking about the DLC characters being bad, which most of them suck, right? That's not even what I'm talking about here. That's a whole different discussion. What I'm talking about is these they just weren't hype. They just weren't hype. And this game has almost zero returning characters. And let me explain what I mean by that. So first of all, let's just look at the base roster, not even the DLC yet, but I'm gonna get to the DLC, right? The base roster, I feel like Soul and Kai were preserved pretty well. Although Kai lost his little, like, I don't know what you would call that, like his little gate thing that he would set up. Mei, absolutely butchered. Zato, completely different character with the same idea. So he's kind of weird because he does the same exact stuff that he did before, differently. He has completely different moves, but he is still a puppet character, right? Chip lost a lot of stuff. He lost his teleport. He lost his move that made him go invisible. He lost a lot of stuff. Millia, I don't play Millia, so I don't know too much. But all I know is that she lost her hairpin, which is really important. And Nago is new, right? Another severe problem I have with this game is this is supposed to be like a new generation of guiltygear, and there were two new characters in the launch roster, literally two. Anji, from my understanding, has been completely butchered, right? He's not even the same character anymore. Leo, he's pretty much stayed the same. Faust, I mean, this guy is consistently top tier, and in this game, he's considered one of the worst characters. So that should explain what happened. Axel, I feel like, is just not who he used to be. Potemkin, I would argue he's better in this game than a lot of games he's in. And he lost, like, his torpedo, like, move where he, like, launches himself. Ram is completely butchered. Giovanna is new. And Eno is completely butchered as well. So, what am I talking about here, right? And this game has always had really weird people. And what I mean by that is, they seem to, like, they really hated on Guilty Gear because it's simpler. And I'm definitely not one of those people, right? I don't care that the game is simpler. My problem is that the characters have lost so many moves that they literally aren't the same person, right? So let me explain. Hold on, let me explain. For example, Mei and Ram were some of the most technical characters in the last game, right? And obviously, this game is way more popular than the last game. And so people don't realize how hard these characters actually were. And now, they are hands down some of the most brain-dead characters we have ever seen in modern fighting games. They are so good and so, like you just mash with them. And that's not who they used to be. If you didn't know, Ram used to be kind of a Tekken character. She had strings, right? And nobody else had strings in the other games. But she had strings. So she was kind of like a Mortal Kombat / Tekken character. And also, you could control her and her sword separately. You could set up her swords in specific places. Mei, she could set up like dolphin rings, you know, she had the projectile. It was like these two characters were very hard to play. And now, I mean, when you go up against them, you're just like, wow, I mean, this guy is literally only playing this game to win at this point. He doesn't really even like these characters. Because I feel like Ram was not a popular character, and Mei was not that popular either, but especially Ram. And now all of a sudden everyone's playing them. It's like you didn't really like the character, you just want to win, right? And I don't blame them, but that's not who these characters used to be, right? And that could be said about Ino as well. Ino is one of the hardest characters I have ever played, and I didn't even play her in this game because she does like the same two things, and if you do them badly, you kind of just lose. And I think I can really speak for a lot of people here when I say that this is the most frustrating Guilty Gear game ever. And I think that's because the characters lost so much that they have one thing that's really powerful compared to what they used to have. And it's just so powerful that's all you deal with the whole match. And then you either win or you lose. Right? And I think that's my biggest problem here. And that has nothing to do with the game being simple, right? That's just the way they designed it. Because there's a lot of simple games that have a lot of variety, right? But the problem is, in this game, their toolkits have been so, like, refined to one specific thing. And if you struggle against that specific thing, you're going to be really frustrated. And then let's just get into another thing, right? The DLC for this game has not been very hype, okay? Here's what I mean by this, right? If you don't know, this game has a story mode. And also, if you couldn't tell, this game only launched with 16 characters, okay? So here's where I'm getting, like, really iffy on this game, and I don't know how guiltygearstrive got away with this. This is what I'm, like, really... How did they actually pull this off without any controversy? Because if you don't know, this game has a story mode. There is no gameplay in the story mode. It's a 4-hour-long movie, right? However, in the intro of the game, you don't even have to play the story mode. If you watch the intro opening of the game, he is in it, and she is in it. If you don't know, these are all DLC characters. All three of these characters are from Season 1 of the game. So, if you... And by the way, this guy came out 1 month after the game came out. So they already... My problem with the game is that the roster wasn't very big and it didn't have a lot of new characters, right? Here are 2 new characters, right? It's very safe to assume that he was finished before the game came out because he came out a month after the game did. He was in the story mode. He was ready. He should have been in the base roster. I feel like he would have added a lot to the game. But he didn't make it. He was DLC. So then the second DLC character of that season was Jacko. Also in the story mode. You see where I'm getting at here? Another character that's in the story mode. right? Who was the third DLC for this season? Was it actually Happy Chaos? Wow, I never realized that. So there were actually 3 back-to-back DLC characters that were in the story mode. That's kind of like... It's kind of like insane, isn't it? And then, Biken was in the story mode. And then, if you don't know, she was in the end credits. And Testament was also in the story mode. Right? So all 5 of these characters were not really hyped for me personally because they weren't a surprise. We've already seen them in the story. Literally all of them. And then here we go with Season 2, right? You're thinking, the game has been out for a year. There is no possible way they can add more characters that were already in the story mode. Welp, Bridget was not in the story mode. This is the first character in a whole year of the game being out that was not seen in the game at all in any format. And wouldn't you know, she's probably the most popular character in the game, or she's up there, you know. But all of these characters, even though these characters were in the story mode for literally a single picture, they were still there. Sin was in the DLC story mode that they added. And Bedman was in the DLC story mode that they added. And by the way, I want to make this clear. It took Bedman almost a year to come out after they were in the story mode. Like, you see where I'm getting at here? It's not exciting, it's very predictable, and it's very disappointing. Not to mention that you go, oh, let's go, Biken's back. I'm so hyped to play Biken again. She's not the same character that she was before, at all. And I've actually made a comparison video on this when she came out over a year ago. So if you want to check that out, you can. Same with Testament. I made a comparison video on Testament as well. You're hyped for these characters coming back, but they're not the same character at all. They got rid of her command run. They got rid of Testament's traps. Bridget, I think, is very different as well. Bedman is not even the same character. And Sin is not even the same character. They keep the same idea, but that's about it. And if you don't know, the last character is That Man, who has been in the story mode since day 1. So if you don't know, the final character is not Jam, it is not Johnny, it is not Slayer. It is a character who has been in the story mode for almost 2 years. Anyways, my question is, my big question is here, does anyone see this as a problem? Because me personally, I hate this. I hate this. I severely hate this. And you know what's funny is that this happened about 10 years ago to a game called Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And it was a gigantic controversy. So I just wondered why isn't this considered a controversy? I mean, Gold Lewis was clearly finished before the game came out, and he was DLC anyways. All of these characters were in the story mode. All of them. Besides Bridget. So, why were they sold as DLC? And more importantly, I don't see that as such a big deal anyways, because that's just the way games are nowadays. But what I really want to know is, why does this ruin the hype for you? Because this ruined the hype for me tremendously. For me personally, I think Guiltygearstriv's 2 seasons have been the least hyped seasons I've ever seen in a fighting game. Because even if you really want the character, you've been seeing them for months, potentially years already. And they're not even out, Like I said, That Man is coming out next month, and by by the time he comes out, the game will be about 2 years old, and he was in the game day one, in the story mode. He was a huge, important character in the story mode. So it's just, for me, it's just very disappointing, right? Not to mention that you wait all these times for the characters to come back, and they're not even the same character at all. They don't do the same stuff, you know? Maybe I'm just stupid and I'm making a problem out of something that doesn't need to be a problem. But for me personally, this season has, both seasons of Guilty Gear Strive have hit nowhere near as hard as any Dragon Ball Fighter season, as any Tekken season, as any Street Fighter season. And that's just the way I feel personally. And Street Fighter V did do this as well for the first season, I believe. But after that, it was like 5 years of brand new characters, you know, and some guest characters as well. It was a fun time, you know. So how do you feel about this? Because I personally hate it, and I wish it would stop, and I wish it would go away. And it, for me, it ruined the game to me to a point where I'm literally not going to play this game when Street Fighter 6 comes out. Because the DLC has been so expensive and so, like, not surprising at all that it's just not worth waiting for anymore. For me, at least. And thankfully they have no more story mode characters to pull from, so the next character will definitely be the last. But it's too late for me personally. It's too late. So yeah, you know, let me know how you feel. You know, like, subscribe, and I'm gonna have more videos, you know, this week. So yeah, peace.